What's up? What's up? What's up, guys? Welcome to the pre-snap read,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you already know what month it is. It's that month where everything go crazy. It's that month where Future said to himself, "Boy, it's nothing but madness going on this month."
It's
Hey,
March Madness.
March Madness, you already know what the deal is,
It's you and the BB for
man.
me.
Shoot, we had to
It's you and
do it.
the
We had to do it.
I was
Shoot, shout
feeling it
out.
Okay,
though.
let me go ahead and
Hey, we had to
dress it
do
up
it,
and make it
man.
real for me. Hey.
Hey, we had to
That's
do it.
all.
It's week 5. We still in season 1. You know what I'm saying? We progressing. We moving on. You know, but I got my lovely co-host here with me. I got my boy, Jerry the cute. No, hold on, Robin. I gotta wait for you. Hold on. I got my boy
Oh, it's okay.
Jerry.
Last but not least, baby. I'll wait my
Exactly,
turn, baby.
exactly. I got
I
my
will
boy with
wait.
me. I got my boy with me. He cute, but he from the Carolinas. He
Yes, sir. NC.
went to that Winston Salem State. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying? Then he
sir.
came down here to FAMU. My boy Jerry Good.
Yes, sir. What's up with it? You doing
What's
all right
up?
today, baby? So let's
All
get it in.
right. So today I think today is National Women's.
Yeah,
Shout out to my mom. Shout out Jerry
to
mom. You know what
moms.
I'm saying?
It's
You
Hmm.
good,
know,
sir.
that is today is National Women's Day. You know what I'm saying? Wait, we just had to say the best for last to the lovely lady of pre-snap read. Give it up for Robin, y'all. Give it up for Robin. Give it up for Robin. Give it up
Hey
for Robin.
guys.
Give it up for
It
Robin.
is. It is National Women's Day, International Women's Day as well. So it's like cohesive. All the
Mhm.
international and national women. Shout out to y'all. Also, I love you, mom.
Me
She
too.
made
Like you
me
know.
where I
Mm-hmm.
am, who I am. Hello. For all the ladies out
Definitely,
there,
definitely,
it's y'all's
definitely,
day.
definitely,
It's our
man.
day. Yeah.
A lot of stuff been going on this week, man. This just been a good week for sports in general, but we about to get it started on the football side. So go ahead, Robin.
So, I don't know if you guys have seen our spectators out there, but Grambling State has named their new offensive coordinator. What's interesting though is this coordinator. His name's John Simon. He was the former wide receiver coach for the University of Memphis. Um, I'm a little perturbed, and I'm gonna just say how it is because this same man, well, not same man, but has the same kind of situation as who was just hired and they let go. Art,
All right,
what was the
Blau.
name? Art
Art Briles.
Briles. Yeah.
Mhm.
So John Simon was at University of Memphis and was let go. He was placed on administrative leave back in 21 because he had a Title IX and sexual misconduct complaint against him. And if you go back to when our Browse was going through his little scandal with Baylor and how he resigned or was forced to resign, same type of ordeal, sexual misconduct, sexual altercations going on. I'm just kind of concerned with Hugh Jackson's judgment on who he's hiring for his coaches because if you just went through the whole process of art and understanding the scrutiny that comes behind that, the scandal of all that experience, and then turn around and hire John Simon. Like, I'm a full believer of second chances, don't get me wrong. Um, but I'm a little concerned that he made that quick turnaround and hire someone who literally almost has the same situation going on. And not even like it's been in the past, like he just went through this February of 2021. So, what are you guys' thoughts? Like, are you on the fence of like being that person of like, okay, let's give these people some opportunities, some chances because no one else is going to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you have to be a little bit more strategic when you're hiring on new coaches to take on your team and have the success of running a program with continued support? Because it's not to say that, I mean, John Simon is not qualified for the position by all means, but you still have to have the support. You still have to, like, for instance, our Browse, he had so many fans from Grambling saying, no, we don't want you. You know what I mean? So it's like, mm, We talked about like the race being a part of it, Art Browse being a white man coming into an HBCU, but now we got John Simon, who's a black man, but still same situation. Where do we draw the line? What are y'all thoughts?
Me personally, I think history tends to repeat itself. I think this is going to be an ongoing problem with Gremlin, what they have going on. I think they try to hire the best candidate. I'm not taking away from Mr. Simon as a coach. He's definitely a great coach, but his background things he have going on is kind of a repeat of what we just seen. And I hate for them to have all these great things going on. The NIL and everything like that, for them to have these kind of situations kind of repeat themselves. I see it as a kind of a bad idea, but we can see how things will pan out in the future.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like it's one thing to want to hire someone with the experience and the expertise, right? Of course, that's exactly what you look for. You want someone that's going to help make a change, make a difference, and propel your athletes, your whole coaching staff, all of that cohesiveness. But then I feel like there's another thing of like, there shouldn't be an ounce of desperation in these decisions. And I almost find that his decisions, Hugh Jackson meaning, I don't know if there's like a hint of desperation of like, let's just get anybody, you know what I mean? And let's just settle it, even though, like, granted, like you said, Jerry, like he's qualified by all means, but it's like, where's the conversation of going just beyond the credibility of a person? Because I just feel like that doesn't just have to do with football, right? It doesn't just have to do with sport. Your credibility has to do with your character as well. So I'm like, what do you do? Because originally they wanted Ted White, right? Ted White ended up getting hired by the Texans. So I feel like after that situation, it's like, oh, let's just anybody, like, oh, you need a job, like, what we doing here? I don't know. Ryan, where you at, Ryan? I don't know, man. I'm confused.
And I feel like I feel 50-50 about it. I mean, what I said last week, I still meant it, as far as like how like black people is perceived in, white culture. We don't get second chances. But,
Yeah.
It's revert now. It's like reverse. When Art Plows came, he was given a second chance, but the second chance didn't go all the way through. So
Yeah.
like, I'm still kind of salty about that. But at the end of the day, I feel like Hugh Jackson made a football executive move, because number one, your players are already familiar with that coach, and your returning players, even the
Right.
wide receivers that he recruited, they are familiar with it. The quarterbacks that they recruited, he's familiar with all the offense. So trying to get somebody in after spring game and knowing the offensive coordinator, like, you need that during the spring game, so what works, what don't works, what works with this quarterback, what works with this other quarterback, what
Yeah.
works with your old line. Like, I feel like he had to make a decision as soon as possible, because if you miss a spring game, like, missing a spring game is a lot to an offense coordinator, to a quarterback. Like, that's a lot,
Yeah.
because when I know Jerry can attest to this, when the defense is already like this. Doesn't matter, like, you can give them 5 days and the defense is already clicking. They may make mistakes here and there, but the defense is clicking. That's the first thing that clicks on the team. The offense is like a locomotive. It starts out slow, but once you get the ball rolling and everything comes like into fruition, it's hard to stop a locomotive. So, like, I feel
Yeah.
like he made the right decision at the right time. I don't know how long this decision is going to stay, because I feel like he still got something up his sleeve, or he still wants somebody there,
Yeah.
and he's going to move him back down to, wide receiver coach or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I know he lost Eric Marty, who was the quarterback coach, and Eric Marty is now coaching for the USFL. So he's like going to be starting his career. And I think knowing like Eric's his experience. He came from a JUCO, turned that program around. That JUCO, Ridley College in California, had like a losing streak, and then boom, Eric came in, revamped their program, and ended up having like a 10-1 streak after like he revamped that program, or at least the quarterbacks. So I think in my mind, Hugh is trying to duplicate that, knowing that John has that same experience or same repertoire in his way of leading a team, leading, like you said, the offensive side of football. It's
Mm-hmm.
just I guess it's because if Art Briles wasn't there, if that wasn't a thing prior to hiring John, I don't think it would be as bad. That's I guess is my biggest point. Is like you
Yeah.
go through the same situation of the scrutiny and the experience of art, and then turn around and have that same type of experience with John. I think that's where I'm like, you could have done it a little bit better. But like you said, he has experience with the team, which is always great, especially when you're trying to move people up. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of come together. They haven't yet, though. What I did research is they haven't yet approved John taking over the position, because they still have to go through like an actual committee voting process with the University of Louisiana system, and that won't occur until April 20, like 8th, 7th or 8th, I think. So it's still a possibility, and I wouldn't be surprised if Hugh is still actively looking, knowing that John is coming in with some baggage. So I wouldn't be surprised if, whatever reason, if the university system doesn't approve John coming in, and then boom, next week Hugh got another person on deck. So
Yeah.
because clearly he don't waste no
Yeah,
time.
He
exactly. He gonna have
hey,
He's not
somebody there like this.
wasting a time,
hey,
right?
no time. Like, hey, I got like 5 more people.
They in
Just
line.
And
know.
I mean, it,
Just
it makes
They
know.
sense.
see one coming now.
What?
Right. You need that because I
Yeah.
mean, otherwise it's gonna fall on him. And I mean, he was in that position already before. So it's like now that he's in a deciding factor position, I'm sure he's gonna have somebody lined up. But it's just I feel like that's a headache.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not no head football coach, but I just feel like going through that process constantly and having people having to be approved week after week after week, and you already like we're in the beginning stages of getting really started with football season. Like we got spring game, next month, and then right after that, we getting ready for preseason. Like this is a quick turnaround for them. So I hope it doesn't affect their team too much.
What I got to say about that, it's a old saying, you do the same thing over and over, expecting a different outcome. That's called
Mm,
insanity. So
it is.
what we're doing right now is the same thing over and over. I want to kind of side with Ron, what he said about, the spring game. I think he is probably, just having that individual or John Simon there, assignment there for the spring game, just for the fact of they have the spring game coming up. So I want to say probably in the near future, they'll end up probably getting somebody else. But for the simple fact they have somebody there to call the plays, that knows the offense to get through this spring game. And maybe
Yeah.
after the spring game, they might hire somebody else. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. I can't really see them sticking with Simon for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
He's definitely qualified, but I don't think that's what's gonna happen.
I could see that too. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised at
Yeah.
all, especially when the deciding factor is going to occur after spring game. So he's still going to be on a whim even during spring game, even if he lasts that long, after.
Right.
So we'll see.
And from what I know, coaches, it's not only a recruiting in just players. They recruit coaches as well. So they'll have just
Yeah.
like they'll have a coach here already lined up. Like, hey man, if things go south this year, we're gonna have you lined up for the next guy in line. So that's something that I learned in Winston State. When I got recruited there, they told me, hey son, if you're not working hard, we out recruit you. That's my job. I recruit you every year. That's what he told me. So I wouldn't be surprised to do the same thing for coaches.
Yeah. But I mean, that's an example of a successful program. Like complacency is not going to get you anywhere. Like you always got to strive to do better. So, but
Definitely.
Good luck with them. But on a great note, with our HBCU athletes at the NFL Combine, guys, we had Jacoby, and these are the folks that were invited. So I just want to, make that distinction because, you know, we have our HBCU athletes that had the invitation, which there are Jacoby Durant from South Carolina State. We had Jatire Carter from Southern. We got Joshua Williams from Fayetteville, and then Marquis Bell from, FAMU, FAMU Rattlers. So those individuals were the four that were invited to the NFL Combine that occurred. I will say, first and foremost, shout out to Marquis Bell, who really did a phenomenal job. Safety, straight up out of New Jersey. He ran a 4.45 40-yard dash. He had the fifth best vertical in the entire combine for his position. Also, eighth best broad jump. And then, I was looking at a couple of different, interviews that he's done, and just some people that were kind of looking at where he is. And they're projected him to potentially get picked up maybe fourth round, which is amazing for him. And just from an HBCU athlete in totality to one be invited, let's start there.
Yeah.
Not even did he receive that invitation, but he succeeded within his goal on making a name for himself and being able to have that recognition that he's been having throughout the season and been able to showcase that in the combine. So that's going to be really interesting to see how they're going to actually give this young man an opportunity. I hope that they do end up drafting him and actually making it count for him, because he's putting up the same numbers as anybody else that's coming from a Power Five D1. You know what I'm saying? Fifth out of the like all of the competitors, like that's huge for best vertical. Eighth in broad jump. He's putting up the numbers. So shout out to Marquise Bell from FAM shutting it down. He's a safety at FAM, so that's huge. Also, you know, Jacoby, I loved watching his interview, and he made it a point to share that he picked off Clemson's quarterback twice in their matchup when South Carolina State played Clemson last year. So I said, you better state your facts, state your stats,
Mhm.
state your facts,
Yeah.
because who else is going to do it? You know what I mean? And even Jatire Carter from Southern, he had the most humbling, I felt like, interview that I watched, looking at where he's from and what he's doing. He is a offensive lineman from Southern, and he made a point to say, everything is under a microscope for athletes that are coming out of the HBCU. They are looking at you way more in detail that they're looking at any other athlete because you're coming from an HBCU. So essentially, you have to be 100 times better at your craft than anybody else. But he said, as long as you're showing up to play, they have no reason to doubt you because you're showing up and you're doing your job. So he did a phenomenal job, you know, coming out there, having the statistics, being invited again. He's already, making a name of himself just by having that invitation. And I think all four of them did as well. Joshua Williams coming out of Fayetteville State, cornerback. I will say that I looked at a couple of his highlights from the combine, and it just seemed like he did very well in staying in the moment and like becoming more fluid with his drills. I feel like he had a little rockier start than the other competitors, especially within the cornerbacks, because that I feel like the cornerbacks and the wide receivers are probably in my opinion, probably the most competitive to try to speak out is looking at statistics and looking at like your 40, you're looking at your vertical, your broad jump, and all those the different drills that you have to overcome. But I liked his interview because he shouted out his dad. He actually was a track star in addition to being a football star, but his dad more focused on track. And so they were just asking him, who impacted his talent, and he shouted out his dad. So I like to see that family orientation when you have athletes coming through and having that opportunity to go pro. That warms my heart. I'm like, oh, I want to be that
Mhm.
mom. I'm gonna be that mom. Be like, yes, I am my son's coach, actually. So I don't
Exactly.
know. They did a phenomenal job. Those four HBCU
They
players
did.
coming out and showing out. So yeah,
They did. Let's to go back to Marquis Bell. He's I've heard great things about him too. So he's a day 3 guy, day 4 guy in the draft. That 4.4 is a blazing speed. That's not slow. Everybody say they
yeah,
run a 4.3, a 4.3, a 4.4, 4.5, even that's blazing speed. That's zero point 0.2 seconds. 4.5 is zero point 0.2 seconds after a 4.3. So him, the Kobe Durant, we didn't even mention he ran a 4.38, a 4.38
yeah,
40. That's incredible. You know, that's I want to say that was probably the top 10 40s. I know they had a couple guys in the 4.2s that they had some fast guys in this draft.
they
Four
did,
three,
they did,
yeah, like 4.3s, 4.4s, even the 4.5. These are all numbers that guys are putting up in the NFL. So they're going to match up as far as their testing. I've heard great things about Joshua Williams. Shout out to him. You know, I'm a Division II guy, Winston-Salem State, so we play Fayetteville State all the time. Great athletes there. Yeah, Joshua Williams. I looked at some of his film. He has some very fluid hips that he can be. That's very valuable for that position. You don't see a lot of guys that are 6'3", you know, in that position anyway, that have fluid hips and that have good feet, like good footwork. That's invaluable. You can't find that in a lot of guys. His numbers and his weight, it kind of matches up with one of the best corners in the draft this year, Sauce Gardner. I don't know if y'all heard of him. He's probably the top corner coming out of the draft this
yeah,
year. He's six
Yeah.
four, I believe, and his numbers as far as his height, 40 time, all of that are very comparable. I think Sauce Gardner ran a 4.4 40, and he's 6'4". I want to say he's around 200 pounds. So it's somewhat the same numbers as Sauce Gardner, but it's coming from a HBCU. Like he said, you're going to be looked at a lot deeper than other guys. I had one of my coaches used to say, actually, he said HBCUs, if you're coming from HBCU, they're going to find why you can't play. If you come
mm,
from a Division I school or primetime big Division I, they'll say why he can play. So they're looking
Mhm.
for every little thing to kind of say, oh no, we can't get him because of this, and this. But if you're coming from a bigger school, we got to get him because this, and this. So these guys did a great job of showing up. I think we'll be surprised at some of the stuff that happens during the draft because of these guys showing out.
yeah,
Def- definitely. I feel like everybody did a tremendous job. Nobody let us down. That's like one of the big things that I was looking at. I was like, please don't let these boys mess up, because if they mess
yeah,
up, they're gonna use any little thing. That's why we don't invite HBCU athletes, or that's why we don't go to
Right.
HBCU. Blah blah blah.
yeah,
So I'm glad like everybody did their job. It was focused. All these kids, they still 21, 19. So they're basically kids. And like you can tell that they're mature, and the programs that they come from, they taught them well. Like they taught
yeah,
them how to speak in public. They taught them interview skills. They taught them how to be young men. And I give applause to all the schools that they played for and they got invited, and they're showing out. I got to give a shout out to Carter, because offensive, the line is the most important thing on anybody's team. So I know he's gonna get picked up. I don't care where he get picked up at, but he gonna get picked up. I say
yeah,
day two. Actually, not day two, because I say day three, because they do the third round of the draft on day three and all that stuff. But
yeah,
he's going to get picked up day three. Bell's going to get picked. I think all of our HBCU athletes are going to get picked up in day three, around that 3 to 4 or 5 area. I don't think they're going to go below any 5 or 6. If they do, it's kind of like, I wonder,
hmm,
you know, like what happened. But yeah, shout out to Durant. I think his interview was like probably one of the most best interviews that people are circulating around, the internet,
Yeah.
because he literally conducted him, like literally sold himself.
yeah,
Because if I were a team, or I were somebody, an agent, or I were just watching, and I was like, I want the next HBCU athlete to wear this gear or promote this cereal or do something, he literally could be that next person, because he has that
yeah,
attitude, he has that swagger where I'm hungry and I'm gonna take everything, and you're not gonna take nothing off my plate.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and like just everybody did a phenomenal job. Like, I was watching the highlights. I really couldn't watch it like that because I was here and there and working and stuff. But definitely just watching them do what they do best and showing out for all the HBCU land. I gotta applaud them boys because they did it, and
Right.
they put them numbers up.
Yeah, it did.
I think what's I feel like is a good opportunity for these scouts is to see that these HBCU players have just the the same capability and ability than any other athlete that they normally look for. You know what I'm saying? Because I
Mhm.
feel like these scouts, they have their foundational kind of like, recruits and prospective athletes that they're like, okay, this is what we're looking for, this is how we're going to do it, and this is what needs to be done. And I think inviting these players in from these HBCUs, one is a huge piece of change that needed to have happened prior to this, of course, but even within that, they're now seeing the evidence that they are just as good. Like there shouldn't be no discrepancies between a player just because of what school they attend, right? Like I feel like that is that overallistic stereotype that these HBCU athletes are unfortunately receiving, right? Because of the school that they attend. And that's why, it's so important that we have events like the HBCU Legacy Bowl, right? Or that they are getting the invitations to come into the combine as opposed to them trying to fight to see if y'all gonna come to their pro day, right? So in addition to these athletes who have just competed or just showed out their skill level at the combine, then they're going to have another opportunity to do it for their prospective pro days. Like that's the kind of repetition that we need for these athletes to get just as recognized as anybody else, right? And then like we've been
Mhm.
talking about, like this only brings more recognition to the school, right? Now people are going to be like, oh, where's Fayetteville, right? Because we saw Joshua Williams come out of that school, right? Or where is Fam? Because we see Marquis Bell, right? Or is South Carolina State, right? Or even like you said, Jerry, Fayetteville being a D2, you got an invitation for a D2 athlete. Let's just take away that it's a HBCU. It's a D2 athlete
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
at the NFL Combine. Like that's
Right.
yeah.
that's huge for all schools,
Hmm.
PWIs and HBCUs. So I just urge scouts to look at it in that perspective, right? We're not even looking at the school, we're looking at the athlete, and it's just an added bonus that they coming from HBCUs, right?
Right.
So
Definitely.
Yeah. The biggest thing that I've learned, like I've played with guys from Alabama, played with guys from Carolina, East Carolina, Georgia, all these big time schools. The biggest thing between Division 1, Division 2 is just height, size. The
yeah,
athletic ability is the same. The skill level set is the same. So, so these guys giving Josh Williams a chance to kind of opens a big door for not only just the HBCUs but Division 2 as well. And don't forget, guys, we had one of the best linebackers in NFL came from South Carolina State. So Darius Leonard, he's from the Colts. So he's well, shout out to the Q Dog to the Bros too. So Darius Leonard from South Carolina State, he's kind of the link guy that kind of got the scouts. I guess looking at South Carolina State a little bit more, opening the door for Durant. So I can see him actually going a lot sooner than a lot of guys predict him to go, especially
yeah.
running that 4-3. Um, yeah, so I can see him going very soon.
Definitely.
This commercial break is brought to you by Art by Elise. Man, she is an amazing talent from Miami, Florida. She went to FAMU. Man, all her description be down below, but you can tell the talent's there. You're gonna get good quality art, man. But I had to put the best last. FAMU, man. We out here. Description be down below. Thank you, Elise.
Right.
Definitely.
And even for some of those athletes that weren't invited. Like I know of a few off the top of my head. Israel Gray from Alabama State, D. Anderson from Alabama and AM. I know that he came from LSU actually. Like he was at LSU when I was at LSU. So shout out to LSU there. But what's interesting about his story, which I'm not too familiar about why he decided to transfer, but just the the idea of going from such a Power 5 school at LSU, right? Knowing that maybe if he would have stayed, like, could he have been invited? Yeah, maybe, depending on how well he succeeded through the program. Um, but going to an HBCU, right? I always wonder in my head for those who decide to do that, is there an element of because now you're at an HBCU, you no longer deserve that invitation. You know what I mean? Like, because I know they know that he came from LSU, just like how I know you know, you can Google D Anderson and see where, yeah, he's a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Pulled up great numbers at both universities, right? And did a phenomenal job, or is doing a phenomenal job at Alabama and A&M. So um, in the back of my mind, I just wonder if that's like, how do we get out of that stigma of like seeing those type of athletes and seeing where they're going? But shout out to him as well. Akil Glass, also from Alabama A&M. You know, among those athletes that have the capability of being drafted and just, you know, wasn't invited, but still potentially could have that opportunity. So I hope that they can look past just those who may have not been invited to still, you know, look at their statistics, look at how they are as an athlete. So shout out to those athletes as well.
Yeah, yeah, I'll agree with that. This first off saying, it's very hard. It's probably 32 to 35 guys to get drafted every year that don't go to the combine. So
Yeah.
it's very hard to get drafted and not go to the combine. But these are some guys that I think have a very high chance of making that happen. Akil Glass, watching him at the HBCU Bowl, he did amazing. I know a couple of his coaches up there. Coach Carlos Fields, Coach Maynard, uh, Coach Taylor, all of those coaches came from Winston-Salem State. So when they validate and vouch for a guy, I know he's the real deal. Um, let's see, you got Jaheim Maine from Jermaine Martin, I'm sorry, from North Carolina A&T. Another, A&T is a running back school, so a lot of times Tariq Cohen, he came from North Carolina A&T. So they kind of got their eyes on A&T as well for running backs. And you got Antoine Collier, the DB from Florida A&M. He actually got MVP, defensive MVP at the HBCU Bowl as well.
So
So
boy, his
he,
shoulder made out of lead.
yeah, my man had 11 tackles.
Man
11
said,
tackles.
"Fool."
Boy, I don't know what is they reconstructed his shoulder before he came to FAMU, boy, because his shoulder is made out of lead.
The Crimson Shoulder.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he did very good though. So I look for these guys for some guys to get picked up. If not drafted, definitely a signing. They're gonna be on somebody's
Yeah.
NFL program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, Akil Glass, James Houston, he was a terror at Jackson State. Like if you didn't double team him, that boy gonna get the tackle. That boy gonna get the sack. It's
Mm-hmm.
true. Savion Williams from FAMU, I feel like he's very underrated right now. I think if he gets a chance, he will definitely do a team real good because he came from he went to Texas. He was I mean, not Texas, Tennessee, the 4-star athlete. Like, and he didn't even play the first, I think, 2 to 3 games of the season, and I think he almost got 10 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at that's what I like because
Yeah, that's why.
I looked at his stats. I'm like, he's right there with Isaiah Land. I wonder if he would have played the whole season, like, would Savion be getting that award? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's crazy that he only played them amount of games and got those many sacks and went to the Legacy Bowl too. So,
Yeah.
I just hope those players get looked at, get picked up, and people see them as, just an athlete, not and oh, he didn't get invited. So that's the things that I hope.
Yeah.
Let me say this, man, about Savion, man. He's a more athletic type of defensive lineman. Those guys are hardest to block. I played fullback in college and I played offensive line in high school. Blocking smaller guys that are quick, and strong. He's a heavier guy that's actually strong, but he's more of an athletic build. So blocking guys like that is always hard for offensive linemen. So he's gonna look good in the NFL.
Yeah.
Definitely.
One thing, continue on that trend of HBCU football. Spring games coming up for a lot of folks, right? Where some of them are gearing toward it in the next couple of weeks. A lot of them are occurring in April. I would say just looking at Southern spring game is going to be in April 9th, I do believe, which a lot of other spring games are going to be that weekend anyway. But they recently hired a new coach, Eric Dooley. And I feel like that's going to be one of those ones that I would want to pay attention to, only because one, Southern had a very underperforming season last year. And so just seeing how this new coach is going to be able to come in. He was just hired in December. So now that they've kind of gotten into a swing of this new coaching style, maybe his, camaraderie with the team and the other coaching staff, I'll be interested in seeing how well they are putting together their team because, Southern did have a spell where they, was shutting it down. And then, last year, I don't know if it's more so having to do with COVID or what the situation was, or just, the coaching, it wasn't as successful as we would, have seen them to do. So I will be interested in seeing their spring game for sure with this new coach.
I'm definitely interested in seeing Grambling, see what Grambling got going on. All this, all these new coaches, you just hired Hugh Jackson. You got kind of craziness going on with the offensive coordinator. You just hired a new offensive coordinator. So I want to see, they got a lot of transfers in as well. So I want to see how they're putting things together. I do see it turning out actually very well. When you have a great head coach that can keep teams together and hold teams together like you have in Hugh Jackson, you won't see a lot of people like dividing apart and not believing in what he's got in store with the program. So I want to see what they got going on, as well as Jackson State. Everybody want to see Jackson State, so I definitely want to see what they got going on too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Jackson State, man. Pray for Coach Prime. He just, got his foot, surgically
his
done.
toes amputated. Yeah.
Yeah.
That just that just freak. I don't like seeing like it just freaks me out. It just freaks me out. I just like I literally it's crazy that I can play and I can see a broken bone while I'm playing, but like when people are actually operating and stuff, nah, I'm good.
He said, "Nah, I'm good. I'm good on that."
But he lost what was it, two toes?
Yeah, he lost 2 toes.
Yeah.
So he was a little apprehensive about, speaking about it. I mean, that puts you in a very vulnerable state to know that, So yeah, definitely praise for him.
Pray to Coach Prime. I definitely want to see Gremlin. They got a lot of new pieces, so they need to figure out who's what and where. I think Jackson State, we're gonna get the same old right now because we were Coach Prime and stuff. Definitely want to see. To me personally, I really want to see FAMU because they're gonna have a quarterback battle. Like like I don't think a lot of people are talking about that. Like even though McKay is the best game manager in the SWAC, MEAC, HBCU land, you got literally Jeremy Musa, who's got a cannon. Like my nickname for him is DJ Cannon because he can literally throw that thing.
Yes, sir.
Then you have the young gun like right underneath him, who's got a somewhat of a cannon, but needs to learn accuracy and needs to learn more of the playbook. So you got a 3 quarterback battle coming up this season with FAMU. So that's really something to look at. And I'm trying to think of another school that has a lot of recruits that, actually Alabama State, they got a new coach and, they hired a former football player, former real estate agent as a coach. So, he gonna be teaching them boys real estate and plays at the same time.
Hey, they playing on land.
Exactly.
Hey, what do you say? Take it to the house. Take it to the house.
Hey guys, what's the 3 thing I said? Destination, and destination. Break on 3.
That man said, "You miss one more time tackle, I'm gonna raise your APR rate. Stop playing with me. Stop playing. I'll raise your damn APR rate. Miss another tackle."
Oh God, that's funny.
I feel like whatever floats your boat, however way you get your team together, whatever the analogies that you have to present to your team, as long as it works, it works. I'm not mad at it.
We selling season tickets and we selling land. 100
He said
yards
we
and a
closing out.
mule. That's what we
Closing
doing.
Hey,
out.
boy, you gotta
Do you hear
calm
me?
down, boy. 100 yards in the
100,
mule.
100 yards and a mule. That's what we doing.
Oh
I
man.
Oh
like
God.
I like the the energy that he's going to bring, the education, right? We're not even talking about athletics. We're going to be talking about real, how to build a home, how to sell a home, how to live in a home. I love it.
Yeah.
I
And the
love it.
last team I feel like Alcorn, I think they're having some troubles with, they had a lot of troubles with hiring a coach and everything and,
Yeah.
trying to get stuff
Wow.
situated with their president and athletic director. They was going back and forth for a good little while. So watch out for Alcorn because Alcorn may be up at the top. They was up at the top last year. I don't know where they're going to be as far as, the scale of wins and losses. So just look out for them, hope for the best, hope they don't do bad, hope they be back in the SWAC championship next year for the West.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of the SWAC, so last week we talked about how TSU is on the fence of, where they want to go as far as leaving out of OVC. Um, Now, the SWAC commissioner has reached out to TSU, that's Charles McClellan, excuse me. And into that, they're starting that planning. What does that discussion looks like as far as TSU being added into the SWAC? Now, nothing has been set in stone, of course. They're still trying to, finagle what that looks like, especially financially. Because moving into conference for conference does take, some type of monetary expense going into it. The numbers, I don't really know. I feel like going from OVC, Ohio Valley, to SWAC may not be such a huge discrepancy as far as monetary because we're going into HBCU. We know how our HBCUs work. You know what I mean? It may not be as difficult as far as getting in. I think what's interesting to take note of is if TSU decides to move into the SWAC is now going to have 13 teams, right? So that's an odd number. Now we would have to, move into this idea of adding another team. I don't foresee it being a Division 1 though, just because how quickly that turnaround would be, and I don't know who they have in mind for that next school if in fact TSU decides to add. I recently read an article that they probably going to look more into the Division 2 or NAIA route. I mean, which it may not be such a huge deal. Our Division 2 NAIA schools have proven to have the same caliber of talent as some Division 1 HBCUs. So it'll just be, one, I think it's a great move for TSU looking at geographics, right? Because being an not Ocean Valley, Ohio Valley, right? I feel like it's a dying conference for them. Competitively, looking at the schools that's in it, right? I mean, TSU was doing a phenomenal job in the conference, but it's almost like we need more. Like it's not enough. Especially everybody's goal is to be at what FCS or FBS because they're
Yeah.
FBS, right? What they
They're
trying to be like
they're,
FBS?
they're FCS.
Yeah, so everybody trying to be FBS, right? So,
Mhm.
um, I think it's a huge move for them. Looking at the talent, I know TSU like killed fam at one point, so I'm like have a repeat. There's more opportunities for. I feel like what are those types of games? What does TSU play in Southern
Yeah.
Heritage Classic? So to
Hmm.
have like to continue that, which we talked about that whole scandal between JSU and TSU not probably doing it, but since they're doing it again, right? If they continue on that mindset of adding into the SWAC, you have the Southern Heritage classes actually between two SWAC teams. There's more opportunities for more classic games within those teams. So I think it'll be a great idea for them to move. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that myself. I do think it's a great move for them. It'll bring them a little bit more exposure. A lot of times, these other schools, other conferences, they aren't getting as much exposure, as the MEAC or the SWAC. And also as well that the teams that they're playing against, the Jackson States, they will be playing them on a regular basis. I think that's a good idea,
Yeah.
a good move for I can see them actually changing their system of a playoff system or a conference championship system because of that odd number of teams. So I can see them going to like a more of a traditional format for like a championship game to find out who wins the conference. But I don't
Yeah.
foresee that happening probably until maybe 24. I don't see it happening next year. I think it's kind of a quick turnaround for it to happen next year. But I do think it is something that can happen in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I do as well.
Definitely. I don't know. I feel like TSU they're in a love hate relationship with the SWAC or something. You know what I'm saying?
They really are though. No, yeah,
Yeah,
that's a very good point.
I feel like both of them have animosity against each other. Like,
Yeah.
why you want to be with a white man? Why can't you come over
See,
here
that's
with us?
no, it's so interesting you say that because I've heard a lot of people, like I've asked folks, you know, about what they think about TSU being into the swag. And half of them were like, TSU is almost like this uppity school, right? Because they've been experiencing what it looks like to be outside of an HBCU. So it's almost like they look at TSU as they think that they're better than anybody. So they don't want that type of energy going into, an HBCU conference like swag, right? Because, swag, I feel like swag is probably the most cultural, as far as competitively and just like traditional out of the other HBCU, and maybe I'm just biased because my school, shout out fam, is in there. But it's like looking at it from that perspective, I can understand why people can be a little hesitant on TSU being in there just because of like their experiences of being outside of that and what that looks like to be in an HBCU conference and know your competition in and out. But I still think that that's exactly what they need. They've been in that conference, Ohio Valley, for 30 years. And it's like, are they really progressing? I don't know. I don't think.
Yeah, a lot of these
Yeah.
schools think they're progressing when they move outside of the conference, getting more exposure. But honestly, it almost looks like they're not getting as much exposure as before to me. Maybe I'm biased because I'm just watching HBCU football. But a lot of schools, A&T, I haven't heard as much about them as I had heard in past years. Hampton leaving all these HBCU conferences. I don't know if it's really that
Yeah.
good of an idea. I know it's a good of an idea for financially. They can make more money as far as within the conference. But as far as exposure, I don't know if it's as much exposure as they predicted, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, because it's majority like Tennessee schools, like UT Martin, Austin P, and that conference. It's like, yeah, granted, it was cheaper because all of those schools are like, driving distance an
Hmm.
hour at most, 2 hours away. But I still think if we're trying to build up tradition, I just I felt the same thing about like how fam decided to leave MEAC, right? I even feel like MEAC needs to start stepping up. Like I don't know what they got going on, but they need to start stepping up. That's why we see both fam and Bethune, get into the swag because they know what's up at the swag.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But yeah. So how can I say this? Yeah, like I said, it was a love hate relationship, and like I feel like they really have to sit down and talk. Like the commissioner has to sit down to talk with the AD and the president and the
yeah,
head coaches of every sport to
yeah,
know what the SWAC is going to bring to them. So once that is done, I think they will give their yes or their no. Me,
yeah,
they're better off in this SWAC because it's not about playing. Oh, we want to play St. Pete. We want to play all these other schools. You, granted, you got 3 times on your schedule to play all these other schools.
yeah,
Knowing that you could possibly play FAM at home, you could possibly play Jackson State at home, you could possibly
yeah.
play Alabama A&M at home, possibly Alcorn at home. You can Mississippi Valley State at home. Like you can
Hmm.
play a lot of these schools at home that fans will travel. FAMU, Grambling, and Jackson State. I know them 3 fan bases that travels.
Yeah.
They don't long as it ain't in New York, well, shit, they never mind. They're gonna be in New York. I know you gonna be in New York City.
Because Fam was traveling to Howard, so I know they gonna be
Yeah,
traveling
exactly.
They'll go
beyond
anywhere.
there.
Yeah.
Right.
So besides, I don't know about Jackson State and Grambling, but I know Fam gonna travel.
Jackson State travel well too.
Yeah, they do. They do. So
Especially now that they got Dion, they going anywhere that man go.
Yeah. Right. So scheduling those games at home, that's the world. Like,
yeah,
you're making more money than what you're making in that conference right now as far as home games. That's just hands down. I don't care what the athletic director say. Y'all making more money if y'all enter the SWAC.
Don't nobody want to go to the game and see Tanner play. Tanner and Connor play. We coming to see Tyrone. We coming to see Marquis.
First of all, what you're not gonna do is that.
That's what we're coming to see.
Exactly. we come to see Terrell. So we come to see KJ that used to go down the block to get Skittles and a dollar soda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Jerry, that's who we coming to see. We ain't coming to see Colton. We're not coming to see Marcus.
Black people like y'all. It's the black folks like y'all.
Sure. We want to see these country Bammers come out here and play these other country Bammers. And we want to at least hear the band for about, well, personally, me, I want to at least hear the band for about like 2 to 3 minutes, then go back to this football.
Facts.
Sure.
No, but that does speak volumes on, TSU have such a tradition about them, HBCU wise, culturally wise. I honestly don't understand why it took this long to have the conversation of moving in the first place. Granted, I think a lot of it did have to do with knowing that a lot of their competition is centrally located in Tennessee. And there are no other, I feel like, competitive schools as far as HBCUs in the state of Tennessee. Like, yes, you have Fisk University, but that's an NAIA school. You got Lane College in Jackson, which I don't know what they're gonna be doing. You got Lemoyne, which no. So it's like, who else other than Tennessee State in and of itself? So I'm just like, why not give them that opportunity to have more tradition, like you said, Ron, more fan support, more, credibility to what an HBCU is in and of itself throughout athletics, all sports, right? We talk a lot about football and essentially, but all sports, right? Basketball, baseball, soccer, whatever they have at that school that could contribute overall to the growing necessity of our HBCU conferences. I think it'll only add benefit to it. I don't foresee anything that'll take away or hinder process or success for it.
Definitely. But like you said again, Robin, that's gonna be like 13 teams in the SWAC. So like,
yeah,
I know, the SWAC office know this. They really have to find another team. They really have to find another team to put either. I mean, I don't even know. They have to put another team in the west kinda, because you still got most of the HBCUs is kind of like on that how can I say it, on that Atlantic shore kind of.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of hard to try to put another team in the West unless you move a team that's closer to the West that can play those games.
Yeah.
So
because they would definitely, I feel like, be more West than East for sure.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, it could be argued, granted, if we're talking about time zone, they're central, like they're not East Coast. But they are more Eastern, I guess, geographically, city-wise, being in Nashville than like a Mississippi, right?
Yeah.
Like Mississippi is a little bit more Western. So when you think about it in that perspective, I can see it being argued. But if you're looking at like state-wise, Tennessee sits directly on top of Alabama and Mississippi. So I feel like it can be argued both ways in all respects. So we'll just see. how they
What
look
about
at
a
it.
team like we could add a team like Bethune. Bethune will be because I think honestly, the MEAC it's going down pretty fast. So we can add
Like
another team.
Bethune to SWAC.
Yeah.
Well,
But
Bethune already
Bethune,
is in
Oh,
SWAC.
yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Bethune,
That's right.
Yeah,
yeah, Bethune already in the
yeah,
swag. So like teams like we're talking about Savannah State,
yeah.
we're talking about Morehouse. I'm trying to think of some other teams. Even
Clark
your
Atlanta.
team,
What is Clark Atlanta's? What
it's
conference are
in
they in?
what? Oh, they're
I
in the
know they're
same
not in SWAC.
Who'd you say?
they're in Clark Atlanta. They're in the same conference as Benedict, Benedict College.
I
I think
didn't think
it's
about these
They're in
schools.
the HBCU.
yeah, they're in the C. I think it's CI. Don't quote me. CI something or
Oh, are
SI
they
something.
in
SIEC.
Yeah, SIS. Yeah, that's what
SIC?
conference
Yeah.
they're in.
Yeah.
So, um, they're in that conference. You really just have to find the team and the fan base that will get behind it. I mean, Atlanta is a good market. I feel like I don't know why the SWAC doesn't have an Atlanta team.
Yeah.
So like Atlanta
I was
is
wondering. I feel like if they were, that would be someone I would probably try to pull.
yeah, even Fort Valley. Like
True.
That's
Yeah.
that's probably the best one. That's
yeah,
Yeah.
probably the best
like
one.
Fort Valley, like I feel like their football team is okay, but I know the rest of their sports, as far as basketball and other stuff like that, I know they can compete with other sports
Yeah.
like that, and just you have to bring up your football, revenue and all this other stuff is getting into the SWAC. So Fort Valley is probably like the best ideal school for the SWAC.
That's
Honestly,
true.
guys, it's more of just the distance, how far it is, because finances is more of the biggest thing for HBCU. So I think it's
That's
just
true.
finding the closest school, honestly, that has a pretty decent athletic program. Knowing that a lot of these schools do have great athletic programs, I think it's just finding the closest school in proximity.
Yeah, that is true. All comes down to that financials, travel, all that good stuff. Yep.
Definitely.
Make sure you follow the Priest Now Read on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Please like, share, and subscribe to make this page grow. I see y'all. I'm out.